Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and I'm going to go into step 2 of the painting tutorial with Scale75 paints. So stay tuned, and we'll get into completing the figure. So I've still got a bit of the skin tones to do, and then we'll start doing some of the clothing, probably get into hair and stuff as well. We'll see how we go. Okay, so let's get into our second part of this tutorial. So the first bit, I've already gone through mixing some of the skin tones. I've done the face. And that was a very quick action. Now I'll try and bring it up closer. It might go out of focus, I think, but get the idea there. Now I haven't done the hands or legs yet, so I'll continue on with that. We'll do it quickly, and then I'll do the rest of it until it's finished. May go into another third part, and then once that's completed, we'll go over some finer details and get it really sharp. Okay, so here we go. So let's get into finishing off the skin tones. Now I've got my wet palette here. Actually, I haven't touched a wet palette in a week. So just give you an idea. So I've got my wet palette, and you'll see the paint is still moist, still fully workable. Now a week is probably longer than I'd like, but I mean, everything looks still fine. So if I need anything extra, I'll just add in some more paint, and we'll take it from there. So we'll be using the same basic mixes. That's the other benefit of the wet palette. Still got your basic tones that you used before. We'll go back to our, let's go to one of these pointed brushes here. Okay, so I've got a fine brush here, which is like a 000. And we'll continue on. Okay, so let's get a bit of water into the brush, make it moist. Actually, I can't see, better put on my visors. Alright, it's much better. Alright. Let's see. Alright, let's do the hands. Alright, so you notice that the hands, I've just done the basic tone and some base. Let's get into this one here. This is quite a light pinky highlight. Just seeing it down slightly, because the wet palette would have dried out slightly. Okay. So I'm just building up the higher points where you'd expect the light to touch first. Just along the edges of the fingers. Around the bottom. Right, let's do the other hand. I'm just going to change the lenses on my glasses. These are probably a bit too magnified. Let's go this one here. Yep, it's pretty good. Alright, let's continue on. Okay, again, we're just going to build up these tones little by little. So it's still looking a bit patchy now, but as we apply more, the density will pick up the colour. By doing it this way, you get a lot more control. So on the thumb now, the thumb. Okay, going back to the other hand, just doing some highlights. It's a thumb, forefinger, just on the sides. And across here, this will be dry now. So let's just do these. Alright, let's move on to legs. I think this needs to be a little bit thinner. I might just change brushes. The legs are quite a large area and they still need a bit of coverage. This broad brush like this, or flat brush. Alright, so got a little bit of the base, we'll build up on the base. Now as I'm applying, you can still see the base tones coming through. So this is like the glazing method. So it's influencing the colour, so you can still see the shadow, but it's softening the transitions. So just here as well, just behind the knees. Okay, just under the knee shadow there. Right, it's coming along, so let that dry, move on to the next leg. You notice that I'm only using the one tone for the moment. Because of this glazing method, it's still, even though you're using one tone, depending on the number of coats you're putting on, influences the amount of tone, and then we'll fine tune that with subsequent coats. Okay, so this is going to need a couple more coats. We can still see a little bit of grey coming through. Some of the brown shadow is still coming through. Okay, moving on to our second coat here on the legs. Now legs are quite a large part of the body, so they have a lot of lines that go in the same direction, so they tend to have less noticeable sharp deviation in tone, unlike the face where you've got a lot of different shapes happening there, around cheeks, eyelids, lips, nose. So this part you can be fairly general to start with. And then we'll concentrate on the areas where we think there needs to be some more shadow or some more highlight. Okay, just in there. Alright, it's looking pretty close now. Now having a quick look at this. The base tone's looking pretty good. Still got a little bit of the shadow coming through. Right. Quick touch up around here. Alright, so from here I'm going to work on a little bit of tone around the knees. So the knees would naturally be a little bit darker or pinker, a little bit of a red tone. The back of the knees are normally a slightly darker colour, and then we'll do the overall shadow tone from the light source, the zenithal shadows. So imagine the light source coming from this way. So obviously these areas across the front of the leg are going to be lighter, and then at the back it'll be slightly darker. Okay, so let's mix up a new tone. We've got to start off with this light base here, add a touch of red, doesn't need a lot. Okay, bit of water to thin it because we want this sort of glazy. Okay, Okay, so that's a nice little pink. So I'll change the brush I'm using now. Let's get something a bit finer. Go back to our fine brush. Okay. Just around here. So usually around about the kneecap. It has different tones happening and just around it. Around the back here. So just behind the knee. Okay, and probably around about the shins around here as well. Now a lot of these are going to be very subtle, difficult to see, but that's part of the beauty of doing this, because it should be subtle transition. Because tones in skin is subtle, and if it really stands out, then it doesn't look natural at all. Okay, so let's just do a little bit more here. And I'll just concentrate around the knee again. I'll just do a little bit across here. Just near where the thighs are join onto the shorts.
Are you working at Hobbies tomorrow?
Okay, so that's base done with a little bit of shadow, a little bit of pink tone. Now I'm just going to concentrate a little bit more in making that even. So that'll be done with using the highlight tone. And then I'll blend it in with another flesh. Okay, so let's go to the highlight. So again, we'll start with the base that we had here before. Mix a touch of white into there. Okay, looks pretty good. Bit of water. Right, so that's very glazy now. Just blot off the excess. Okay, so we'll be concentrating across where we're going to see the light coming from, so that would probably be this direction here. So let's do the front section here. The front of the thigh. The side. Down to the front of the shin. Alright, so we'll extend this section so. Just go around the side here. So you just continue on until you're happy with the coverage. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so let's do the highlight on this side. So that'll be mainly this leg. And we'll do the same sort of thing. So you're painting over the area that's going to get most of the highlight. Because again, the light is coming down this way. And again, because this is a glaze technique, you do the coat, let it dry, have a look at it, and then add more in the areas that you think need more coverage. So let's just do a bit more on the front here. Okay, so in general I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's the legs. Now let's use the same tone. We'll do a little bit of highlight on the hands. Like that. Okay. I think I'm pretty happy with that for the time being. Okay, so the paint here, because it's glazy, it's still going to take a fair bit of time to dry. So we'll let that dry slowly, and in the meantime, I'll start working on the hair, I think. Okay, so I did the eyebrows earlier, so in the first part of the shoot. I've done them a brownie colour. Now I'm going to always enhance that with a darker tone. The idea of doing this brownie colour is because it's not too dark a tone from the skin colour, because if you do just a straight dark colour, it looks too stark, it's too dark for the contrast. And so I can always add a little bit more of a darker brown there. So let's just say we wanted to have a dark brown hair. I would start with a super dark brown, almost black, for the shadow tones, and then slowly work up to the highlights. So let's make a new mix. Alright, so we'll go to brown here. Just a touch of black. Don't need a lot of black. Black goes a long, long way. Alright, let's make a bit more there. Alright, so that's like a really dark chocolate brown. That's going to the shadow tone. Okay, so that's quite thin now, almost like a wash. Alright, I'm going to concentrate around the face first. Gotta be careful that we don't actually get on the face, because otherwise we'll undo all that hard work that's already there. Okay, so this is going to give definition. Just be really careful going around the ear. Okay, so we've done one side. Let's do the other side. Okay, so we'll just go along the part. So the part you would consider the darkest part of the figure. I think I've overdone it a bit here, hang on. Let's get rid of some of this paint. Okay, so the good thing is when paint is still wet, you have a degree of control of taking some of it off, although I think I've overdone it now. I've accidentally smeared part of the face. Oh, that's coming off. So before it dries, you do have a degree of flexibility of correcting things. Alright, I think that's right. Okay, let's continue on. Right, just continue using this darker tone, filling in the shadow areas. This is also going to give you a really good idea of how the figure's going to look. So you can see how very thin it is right there. See how it's got that water tensions pulling up from the surface? That always happens with your first coat. Once that's dry, your subsequent coats will be sticking without any problem. So this is only water tension. So because this is so thin and it's like a wash, you notice that it is sort of hanging around all the crevices, which is what we want. Okay. You can see how I'm coming back over here. That's actually covering much better than it did before. Right, almost got coverage. Just some nooks and crannies that we have to get to. Okay, so let's see how far I can pull up here so you can see. So it still looks uneven, but it doesn't really matter because the paint is already in the main areas that we want it to be, in the crevices. Okay, so let's start working on the mid-tone. So I'm going to get a lighter brown, I think, and we'll make it slightly red. Okay, so we'll get a brown here, put it here, touch of red. Okay, so we've got a red-brown mixture, I like that a touch darker. Okay, so let's start brushing in our mid-tone. It's still a bit wet though, so let me just concentrate on the dry areas which are around here. And I'm going to be brushing, even though it's very thin, I'll still be brushing in the direction of what I imagine actual hair to be. Because as you brush multiple lines like this, you will get different tones between each brush stroke, which enhances the look of the direction of hair. Okay, so we'll just continue doing this. Alright, looking alright. once we complete this, we're still going to be looking at direction of light, where we might need to add some highlights and give an impression of more highlights in hair, because hair is quite shiny. And do concentrate on the top of the head. Okay, that's the base of the hair done. Still looks a little bit patchy, that's okay. We're going to continue working at that. Okay, looking pretty good. Alright, while the hair's drying, so we're still at the base colour of that, we can start working on, say, the clothing. So, let's see, let's say we do some denim shorts and maybe a white top. Alright, so let's mix up a denim colour, got some blue. Deepen that with a touch of black. Touch of brown. Okay, a little bit more blue. Okay, so I got my shadow tone for the denim. Right, so let's just paint in the shorts. Okay, so what colour should we do the bag? Do a contrasty type of colour. Just taking a bit more care here to make sure the line separations between the skin and the shorts is nice and crisp. Okay, takes a bit of concentration. Okay, almost there. Okay, so there's a base of the denim jeans. So they're not very blue at the moment. The blue's going to come in a bit later when we put in our mid-tone. Let's get the white. Okay, so there's already a grey at the moment. So just going to accentuate a few of the shadow lines. Best way of doing it with the white is you need to consider what sort of white tone it will be. Some white goes towards blue, others go towards yellow. Let's go towards blue. I think a cooler sort of tone will be nice. So we get a white, touch of blue, a bit more white. Okay, so I'm just going to concentrate on lines of creases. Okay, so like around here. Okay, let's just go around the collar. Okay, again, it looks pretty patchy. Patchy's okay. Alright, so there are some really deep creases, like here. Now, the colour I've mixed is probably a little light for those, so I'm going to go back over those with something darker. And I think the sleeves actually go down further down here. I'll just paint those in. I think I went too far with the flesh before. Okay, so you just continue this all the way around, all the creases. Okay, continue around, let's do this arm here. Okay, that's looking okay. Right, now just do a mix of a deeper sort of grey, so I'll use a little bit of black with this one. Alright, so this dark tone is going to be for the really, really deep shadows. Alright, so look here. On the front. So this is a really loose shirt, so there's a lot of dark, deep shadows. Just concentrate on all of those. Okay, getting there. Alright, some really deep parts here. Alright, almost there. Okay, it's got some deeper shadows there. We've got the light shadow. And then we're going to start working on the white going over the top. Now, since this is still drying, I'm going to move back onto the hair. Okay, so this is our hair mixes here. That was a base mix. Let's get back a bit near. Okay, so just going over with another coat. So again, I'm just doing light strokes in the direction of hair. Because all these little strokes are going to give an impression of the hair and how it's sitting. So hair is not always uniform. Alright, so it's just at the top. Okay, a little bit more around here. Okay, looking good. Alright, just getting a bit tight around the ear. Bit on the inside, yep. Okay, that's the base colour done on the hair. And then we're going to go over that with some highlights, which is going to be from light coming from this direction. And then with that, we'll clean up the eyebrows as well to match the hair colour. Okay, now let's move back onto the shorts because that darker tone looks dry now. Okay, so let's mix up a this is going to be the medium denim tone. So we've got our blue, deepen up slightly with a touch of black. Okay, let's paint in the base. Alright, so I'm going to concentrate on the higher creases, so the tops of the creases. And as I do this, the blue is going to be much more accentuated because you're getting a denser coat of pigment, and then we'll highlight that with a really light blue because with denim it wears and it tends to have a lighter tone, like a crosshatch type look. Okay, so there's not a lot of area here to paint, so this shouldn't take long. Okay, this base coat done. Okay, let's make the lighter tone. Okay, so my light tone is going to be concentrated on the tops of the creases. These are the parts that I would normally wear first. Okay, maybe I'll just notice it there, maybe. I'll do a few more coats so it's a bit more noticeable. Okay. Alright, so that's one side done. Concentrate on the other side. Continue all the way around. Okay. Alright, that's the highlights done. So we'll come back to that and we'll refresh it a bit more. But that's pretty much done, I think, for the shorts. Okay, let's get back onto the top. Alright, so with a white top, white is going to be your pure highlight. So I'm going to mix a base tone. Let's use a flatter brush. So it'll be mainly white with a touch of blue. So actually, let's just do this. That looks right. Okay, so I'm concentrating on the higher parts. Okay, so you can see the lightness coming through slowly. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to continue on with this painting the top all the same way. Across the top like this. This is almost like a dry brushing feeling. This is rubbing across the tops of the detail. Gives them more of a textured feel. Okay, just concentrating around the hair a little bit, just cleaning up some of the over brushing marks. Now this is going to take quite a few more coats before this will cover everything. Yep. Okay, so going with the second coat now. Okay, so this is concentrating more of the colour towards the top part, because around the shoulders it will be much lighter, and then as the light gradually comes down, the bottom part looks a little bit darker, so we'll keep a little bit of a slight differentiation there. Okay, so what we're going for is subtle tone changes. Okay, so that's what we're looking at with the top at the moment. Still needs a little bit of work. White is probably one of the harder colours to do because there is a lot of tone, because it can go all the way to black. Sometimes going all the way to black is a bit too harsh, so that's why I've gone for the greyer in the deeper shadows, because they will be creating their own shadows as well with natural light. But we'll get back into there, we'll do some more pure white highlight, and then we'll get back and adjust the shadows. Okay, so the face, hair, got the shorts, we've got the rest of the skin tones are all done. Now let's do some base for the shoes. I haven't really decided on the shoes yet. I think we'll do a white base and then we'll work it out after that. So let's just use the same white we've got here, which is actually a really light grey. Okay. Okay, just basing the shoes white. Alright, one coat. Okay, looks okay. Alright, we're getting pretty close now. We've got a lot of base coats done. Skin can do a little bit of more work, but we'll get to all the finessing at the very end. Alright, so let's do the base coating of the bag now. Then that'll finish the base coating, and then we'll do the final finishing off. Okay, so let's see, bag. How about we get a sort of richer leather look? Okay, so that'll be orangey brown. Alright, so we'll start with brown. Got brown there, bit of red, bit of yellow. Actually, make that more orange. Let's get some more yellow. Alright, so we've got this really orangey tan happening now. Alright, that's pretty good. Let's try it out and see what it looks like. Yeah, it looks alright. Just be careful where I'm going up against the white parts. Yep, I think it looks alright. Okay, we'll just do a base coat of this orangey tan leather. Alright, just taking a bit of care here. Don't paint over all the clothing we've already painted. Let's just to this side. I mean, if you do get it over, we can always do some touch-ups later. It's not a problem. but if we can be as careful as we can now, then it saves us a bit of time in the future. Alright, so let's do insides here. Okay, let's do another quick coat of this to cover up. So you might just notice from there just how much denser the colour looks after the second coat. Okay, here's your base coat, orangey tan bag. Now let's just I'm just going to paint in the straps. So I'll go in with a finer brush. Okay, let's base coat it. Alright, I think we'll call this this session a day. So we've gone through base coating everything now. The hair has got the shadows and the mid-tone already in. The white top has got the shadows and the base white, which is a very, very light grey. So they still need some deeper shadows and then some highlights added in. The skin all around is pretty much done. It'll be finessed at a later stage to smooth it all out. The shorts also got the base, the mid and the highlights done. And then I've just done the bag, which has been base coated in the tan. And the shoes have just been done in the white. So in the meantime, what I think we'll do is have a bit of think about what we're going to do with the shoes. But altogether, it's looking pretty close to done. So I'll bring it up a bit closer here. Don't know how far the focus goes actually. but hopefully I can get a better idea of what's happened here. Just doing a quick spin, bit of a fashion spin. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's the second installment of painting a figure with a Scale75 basic range. So basic range, I've still got the same old palette. I don't think this is going to survive another week, but we'll see how we go. And the basic palette is basically, you got your black, your white for your tones, white being your full highlight, black being your full shadow. And then you get your primary colors, red, yellow and blue. And then we've got the brown as well, which helps get us all the other tones together. Okay, we'll let that dry and we'll continue on with the third installment, and the third installment should be the final installment. So thank you for watching.